Okay, let's dive into something really complex today. We're looking at Mekelle, the capital of Tigray in Ethiopia, and specifically its city kitchen ecosystem. How does the city feed itself under such intense post-conflict pressure?
Well, the pressure is immense. You have Mekelle acting as this central hub for the whole region, and the population is just exploded, with all the internally displaced people, the IDPs. It's now over 545,000.
Over 500,000.
Yeah, and that's crushing the basic services, water, electricity. The infrastructure was already hit hard by the conflict between 2020 and 2023.
Right. So for this analysis, we're breaking down this city kitchen idea into three main parts: the commercial side, the communal networks, and then the emergency kitchens for aid.
Exactly. And what's really striking, maybe counterintuitive, is that the biggest, most dangerous point of failure isn't necessarily in the emergency camps, which you might expect.
Oh, where is it then?
It's actually buried deep in the commercial supply chain. It's what you might call a single point of failure, SPF. And it's the Mekelle Municipal Abattoir, the city's slaughterhouse.
The slaughterhouse. How so?
Well, it's incredibly old, like 50 years old. And it was originally built for a city population of maybe 15,000 people.
15,000. And now it's serving over 500,000.
Precisely. And it's missing the absolute basics, things like proper stunning facilities, cooling systems, designated areas for evisceration. It's just not equipped.
So that creates, what, a massive public health risk?
A huge one. Basically, it institutionalizes the risk of microbiological contamination. Bad bacteria spreading through pretty much all commercially sold meat. It affects restaurants, vendors, everyone.
And does that filter down to, say, street food vendors? I know they're a big part of the food scene in many places.
It does. And it's frustrating because studies show many vendors, maybe around 65%, actually have decent theoretical knowledge about food safety. They know the rules.
But the practice is different.
Yeah, the actual practice drops quite a bit, maybe closer to 59%. And it's often not their fault. They face economic barriers. Maybe they can't afford soap, clean water, proper storage. And then there's the environment they work in, often near piles of garbage, because city sanitation is also struggling.
It sounds like an infrastructural trap, really.
That's a good way to put it. The system itself makes it incredibly hard to maintain hygiene, even if you know how.
So if the formal commercial system has this huge underlying problem, where are people finding reliable food? And maybe more than just food.
That's where the communal kitchens become so incredibly important. This is where you see real resilience.
The traditional systems kicking in?
Absolutely. These aren't just about calories. They're critical for cultural survival. Think about Tigrayan food staples like injera, that spongy flatbread served with delicious stews, wat or tsibi, full of spices like berber or shiro.
That sounds like more than just sustenance, it's identity.
It is. And you see groups like the Baltimore Women's Group, which reformed in 2023. They run a mill house, grinding grains for these staples. But it's so much more than a mill.
How so?
For the women involved, many deeply affected by the conflict, working together like this. It's therapeutic. It provides essential social support. These places function almost like sanctuaries, life rafts, really.
A psychosocial infrastructure built around food. That's a powerful concept.
It really is. It highlights how food production can be about healing and community, not just economics.
Which makes the situation with the emergency kitchens, especially for the IDPs, even more jarring. There seems to be a major logistical failure there, specifically around energy.
Yes, energy for cooking is a huge, often overlooked problem. Take the Sebekere IDP camp, for example. It houses around 12,000 people.
Yeah, okay.
And they rely almost entirely on firewood and charcoal for cooking. Every meal, every day.
Wait, but how far is this camp from Mekelle itself?
That's the really difficult part. It's only about 5 kilometers from the city's edge. Basically, it's right near the electricity grid.
5 kilometers. And they have no connection, still using firewood.
None. And this dependence on biomass, on firewood, isn't just inefficient. It creates a serious security risk that doesn't get enough attention.
How is it a security risk?
Because somebody has to go get the firewood.
Yeah.
And that task usually falls to women and children. They have to venture out, often far from the relative safety of the camp, which exposes them to the risk of violence, assault, or other dangers. It's a constant vulnerability.
So a basic need like cooking fuel becomes tangled up with personal safety? That's awful.
It really is. A failure to provide basic energy access has these dangerous ripple effects.
Okay, so let's try to synthesize this. What's the big picture takeaway from Mekelle's city kitchen matrix?
I think it's a story of stark contrasts, really. On one hand, you have this citywide systemic public health risk simmering because of one piece of broken infrastructure, the abattoir. It's a massive vulnerability.
Right, affecting the formal commercial sector.
Exactly. But then on the other hand, you see this incredible social resilience, this deep strength in communal kitchens, especially these women's collectives. They're providing not just food, but healing, community, cultural continuity.
Anchored in tradition.
Yes. And yet this resilience exists alongside a glaring failure in the emergency response. The inability to provide safe, basic cooking energy to thousands in the IDP camps right on the city's doorstep.
So profound strength and profound failure, side by side.
Pretty much. And the really critical insight, I think, comes from those communal kitchens. They show us that food production in these contexts is deeply tied to psychosocial well-being, to rebuilding the very fabric of society after trauma.
Which leads to a bigger question maybe for our listeners to think about too.
Definitely. If these communal food collectives, these kitchen-based sanctuaries, are as vital for healing and safety as they are for nutrition, how should aid organizations think about them? Should they just be seen as economic projects?
Or something more fundamental?
Exactly. Should we perhaps reclassify them, recognize them as essential psychological infrastructure, just as important as roads or clinics in post-conflict recovery? That's something really important to consider for future efforts.
Whispers in the hall, echoes in the night, promises made on the neon light. We gathered for hope, for a future so bright. The shadows crept in, hiding from sight. You wore the mask of unity, a scholar's pride. But behind closed doors, you let the truth slide. Words twisted, justice denied. While we waited for answers, you chose to hide. This is the betrayal within, the silence and spin. Trusted your voice, but you let darkness in. Dancing with the power, forgetting your kin. The betrayal within, the betrayal within. You echoed the lines of those who oppress, turned away from the pain, ignored the distress. Solidarity lost in a web of finesse, while the people cried out, you gave them less. This is the betrayal within, the silence and spin.